in the MPF system. She said for years she's been fighting against the hedging mechanism that allows employers to offset their MPF contributions against long service and severance payments. Wu pointed out the mechanism is not fair to low-income workers because this could wipe out the employer's contributions in the employees' MPF accounts. She believes the only way to address this issue is for the government to change the policy. Wu also warned that this problem has gone on for way too long and must be dealt with as quickly as possible. Evelyn Lang, TVB News.
Insurance industry representatives are concerned that the government's proposed voluntary health insurance scheme will leave customers without much of a choice. Instead, they've come up with a different proposal that would allow insurers to offer a standardized plan along with their insurance policies. Joelle De Silva reports.
The Hong Kong Federation of Insurers fears the government's proposed voluntary health insurance scheme will price current customers out of the market. Under the proposal, all private health insurance policies would have to meet a number of criteria set by the government. The group of insurers claims that at present, health insurance customers can choose lower benefit plans according to their needs. With average premiums for health policies rising by an estimated 9%, these customers, the insurer advocacy group warns, may be forced out of the market. And they say the lack of choice is even more apparent for those suffering from serious health conditions. These would have two choices, either to join a high-risk pool under the government scheme and pay 3 times premium, or remain in the public system. For these and other reasons, the group has come up with its own proposal, under which insurers would not only have to provide policies under a voluntary health insurance scheme, but would also be allowed to sell different plans. This, they say, would allow for more choice.
I would consider whether that rare disease, assume it can be covered by an exclusion. So then I can pick the existing product or VHIs with exclusion, but I can have a lower premium. But if I want to have that existing condition to be covered, then I can pick a higher premium product so that the members can have different range of choice.
The proposal has already been submitted to the government. That's as the public consultation, which started nearly 3 months ago, comes to an end on Monday. Joelle De Silva, TVB News.
To Israel, where momentum appears to be shifting in favor of the main opposition ahead of next week's election. Now, with his support slipping, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has launched a last-minute media blitz in a bid to stay in power. James Aiken reports.
The latest opinion polls show the centrist Zionist Union starting to pull away after running neck and neck with the ruling right-wing Likud party for weeks. With just days to go before the elections, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has ramped up his campaign message with warnings about security for voters. Netanyahu told an Israeli TV show he's worried. He said he's been fighting for Israel's security, but the opposition leaders would surrender to pressures to trade land for peace with the Palestinians and to accept an Iranian nuclear deal. Likud's slip in the polls comes after Netanyahu's contentious speech last week to the U.S. Congress, in which he warned against a potential nuclear deal with Iran. But that maneuver may have had little impact on Israeli voters. Sensing growing discontent with Likud after a total of 9 years in power, Netanyahu's opponents have made Israel's high cost of living a focal point of their campaigns. Surveys indicate the Zionist Union, led by Labour Party chief Isaac Herzog, could win up to 24 seats to Likud's 21 in the 120-member parliament. That's potentially enough to form a coalition government.
Do you feel like change is coming?
We're working on it. We're pressing for it. It's still a long way, but we hope to win.
Under an alliance with Israel's most prominent female politician, Tzipi Livni, Herzog would serve as prime minister for 2 years and then hand over power for the remainder of the 4-year term to Livni, if the Zionist Union wins on Tuesday. Despite the momentum of the opposition going into the vote, no party has ever won an outright majority in Israel's 67-year history, which means coalition formation will be key. James Aiken, TVB News.
A manhunt is underway in the United States to find those responsible in the shooting of 2 police officers in Ferguson, Missouri. With tensions boiling over and residents gripped with fear, President Barack Obama is calling for calm. That was the exact moment the officers were shot at a protest outside the Ferguson Police Department. Police ducked for cover, drew their guns, and immediately began an intensive search for the gunmen. The U.S. Attorney General condemned the shooting.
And I stand ready to offer the full investigative resources of the United States Department of Justice, the FBI, to solve this crime and to hold these perpetrators fully accountable.
Just last week, Eric Holder dropped a proverbial bombshell on Ferguson. He said the Department of Justice found deep-rooted racial bias within the city's mostly white police force. It's evident some residents are still fuming mad that a white officer was not charged for the fatal shooting of an unarmed black teenager. But that's no excuse to start ambushing officers, says one police chief.
These officers are also standing in a line of about at least 20 to 25 officers. It's very evident that we have a group of officers standing there.
He said it's a miracle the officers weren't killed and confirmed they were released from hospital and are expected to make a full recovery. Political leaders and civil rights activists joined police in calling for peace and calm, as did this group of residents. They held a vigil to pray for the wounded officers.
We came to grieve the wounding of law enforcement officers last night.
Witnesses to the shooting have offered tips, but so far, no arrests have been made. Terry Pratchett, the British fantasy writer of more than 70 books and creator of the satirical Discworld series, has died at the age of 66. Pratchett had been suffering from a rare form of early-onset Alzheimer's disease. He earned wide respect in Britain and beyond with his campaign for dementia awareness and legally assisted suicide for critically ill patients. His publisher said he died from a chest infection combined with the worsening effects of his dementia. All right, Chris, what do you have for us today?
We're back to the Cricket World Cup. Co-host New Zealand completed an unbeaten run at the Cricket World Cup group stages after beating Bangladesh by 3 wickets at Seton Park. A third wicket partnership of 131 between Martin